Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Steady Focused. And that's right, we're live again. We're working these live broadcast conversations so we can bring you guys in and be part of the recordings. It's, again, COVID has hit us, and so we're doing a lot of things remote. I'm your host. I'm your number one, Mr. Simeon Hendricks. And in this episode, we got something very special. There's a man named Drew Hill. He's the owner and he's the head coach at Endunamoo Strength and Conditioning. And not only has this man trained up multiple athletes to go on to collegiate careers, D1, D2, D3, but he starts them as young as 7 years old, training them on how to use their body correctly so they don't get hurt, and then steamroll that to the point that they can be masters and move through into the collegiate athletic divisions. This guy, he's been on my radar for a long time, and I'll be honest, transparent, all three of our kids are currently being trained by Drew. So please help me give a big, steady, focused welcome to my friend, Mr. Drew Hill. Drew, what's up, dude?
Awesome. So we like having him in the program.
Yeah. So how's your day going? Welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you coming on and taking the time and let me just pick your brain and shine the light on your story.
No, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's actually convenient that we have to do it online because my in-person free time ranges from 0 minutes a day to a random 60-minute block. And so this is that perfect way to kind of fit it all in.
Man, I got a bunch of questions I'm going to run through with you, but
yeah.
Why the youth? Why the youth? Obviously you have extreme passion for training the youth. Why? What do you think that stems from?
Honestly, it's like the youth or just like kids in general?
Man, I would say kids. I'm kind of becoming an older man, so
yeah.
Anything under 30, under 20 is
that's kind of what I was eyeballing at was some people, when they say youth, they're like, why the 7-year-olds? And then some people think, why the 18-year-olds?
Yeah.
Honestly, I in high school, coaches meant a lot to me, impact wise. Sports meant a lot to me. But it wasn't until I made it into college and I began getting coached by guys who this was their job, that I realized it could have been done a little better. When I was in high school, I didn't understand recruiting had become an online or an internet-based thing. I didn't realize how important training was. I suffered a lot of injuries in high school. I had to have surgery before I came to play in college. And as I was in college, I realized it could have still been done better. There was still a limitation there. And it kind of stirred a passion into me to be like, what if I took this thing that we're doing at the college level and that is being done professionally? And what if we could find a really good way to apply it to kids at the lower levels so that when they're in college, it's not like, man, you already have years of bad experiences and you have all these problems and I'm going to basically have to break you down to turn you back into something. And so that began to make me want to work with these underage populations.
That's awesome to hear you describe it like that, because I had recently talked with my son, Kingston. He's 9 now, and I had a pretty strong high school career of athletics, but I was totally ignorant to going to the next level. No one in my family knew anything about it, other than they were just like, hey, you're lifting, you're good. We enjoy watching you play. But as far as encouragement, or I was totally in the blue, out in the middle of nowhere as far as what to do. I wasn't on the radar with the coaches to be one of the top 2 or 3 guys that they were going to assist, push, put the videos together, make the calls. I'm very thankful for my life. It ended up going another route. And it's all good, but that's what I tell Kingston. It's super cool to have you as kind of this, I don't know what the liaison.
Yeah, almost like a bridge. Yeah,
exactly, like a bridge. So, man, what was your college career? Talk about it. I don't know about it.
Yeah, so it's one of those cool stories, but tragic stories. So I was in Midwestern for 2 years, and I got to do do a little bit of football. I actually never even got to be one of those guys that traveled. My recruitment at Midwestern was kind of self-done, and it was late. And so what happened was I was recruited to go play in Arkansas and other out-of-state schools. And my now wife girlfriend came to me one day, and I really hadn't decided where I wanted to go play. And she said, I'm going to Midwestern for dental hygiene. And I was like, that's cool. Where's that at? She's like, Wichita Falls. My grandma lives in Vernon. My parents are on Shepherd. And I was like, man, that might be a cool place for me to go play football. And she was like, oh, that's fine. Like, she didn't think anything of it. She's like, this kid's about to go to Arkansas. Eventually we'll break up. Or he's going to go to Oklahoma. Eventually we'll break up. And I sent them my tapes. And they're like, yeah, come on. Like, let's go ahead. Let's get you in here and integrate it into our program. And so I came to her one day and I said, hey, I'm going to Midwestern to play football. And she's like, oh. She, in her mind, she thought we were going to break up at some point, and out of nowhere. And I didn't realize that you could self-recruit. I was just waiting for letters and waiting for opportunities to go visit schools. And I went to a very small school. And so those were not, we just weren't very well known. And so I wasn't getting the volume you might have wanted. And then a couple years in, I basically was too broke to play football in college. And people don't understand that the support you need is pretty big. Most kids aren't getting any kind of scholarship at a Division II until their senior year. And I was paying for college out of cash and on academic scholarships, and I was just running out of income. And I kind of had this push shove situation where it was either, not be able to afford college or get a job on campus. And I was basically kind of prayed, and I was like, God, if I don't get an on-campus job that pays for the rest of my cost of living, then I'll keep playing football, and I guess you'll help me find another way. And I got a job like immediately in the housing department. And so took off the helmet, took off my cleats. And that's when my collegiate football career ended. But my collegiate powerlifting career started immediately after that.
Awesome, dude. So what is the town that you're from? Are you from Texas?
So I was an Air Force brat. I was born in Texas, actually born in Abilene. I was an Air Force brat until I was 13. Okay. And then we settled in a town called Gunner, Texas. We're actually great at football. The coach there, his first year was my first year on varsity as a sophomore. And so he coached me. And I got to, just be poured into a guy that was really passionate and was good at coaching football. And that's kind of what instigated some of my desire to be a strength coach was, by the time I was a sophomore in high school, I was the strongest kid at my school. And so I clearly was like, I like this and I enjoy this, and this is very important to me. But being at that small school, having a new coach who didn't have a lot of connections, it was basically like you got lucky. Mm-hmm. If somebody was in town recruiting somebody else and they saw you, they might send you a letter. So that was it.
So you're in college, and tell me if this is true, but I've kind of put together a few things, and I think this is true. You're in college and you discover, hey, man, I can eat a Little Caesars pizza once a day for $5. Yep. And it's going to basically give me around 2,800 calories, solid protein. Yep. And you kind of lived on that, right?
Yep. So this goes back to the poverty story. It was one of those situations where I just did not have the funds or the income to do what I needed to do. And I was like, Little Caesars, $5. And I looked at it and I was like, I can eat a whole pizza. And this whole pizza is going to do everything. And it's got about over 100 grams of protein. It's got the calories. If I can afford protein shakes, that's a bonus. And that was a big part of my supplemental survival fund for making it through college, which was huge. I'm in this awesome facility now, but most of my 18 and up, life has been, you take a penny and you pinch it as hard as you can. And that's one of the reasons we've been able to grow. But yeah, no, I've helped a lot of kids on the Little Caesars philosophy too. Yeah. Because you can gain weight on that if you can eat more than just that one pizza a day.
Man, I love that. And I love that you are an example of hard work paying off. Obviously, you're still a very young man. We've got a long life ahead of us.
That's what they tell me.
Right. Yeah. Hey, who knows though, right? Who knows? Yeah. But just the fact that you were at that point where it's like, yeah, I have $5. This is it. This is my only meal today. And I'm smart about it. I'm still counting my macros. I'm still looking at my caloric intake. Man,
Yeah.
That
And but back then it didn't seem like I was being clever. Back then it was just like, well,
okay.
this is my only option, so it makes all
Right.
the sense in the world. And now I can look back and be like, man, I can't believe that I was just like, this is what I got to do today, and I'll do it. And so,
Did it ever feel like an option for you to not be your own boss once you were done with school? Or did you know like hell, there's no doubt this is what I'm gonna do?
I don't, it's crazy. I was assisting as a strength coach. So I was helping with the strength and conditioning department for about 2 years. And the idea was that I was going to go on as more long-term staff at Midwestern, or I was going to go to TCU as a strength coach. And so I was ready to be a pupil for years. I was going
Okay.
to follow the path of my friends. And then professors started to come to me and be like, hey, I have a kid. I listen to you in class. I know you do this. I know you've done this. And I want my kid to be like trained by you because the coaches at school just aren't cutting it for us. And one kid turned into a handful to where I was in the summer, running the football group, and then I'd have like private training kids come in, and then I'd run a football group with them, and I'd have private training kids come in. And I was the assistant, or I was the performance director at a physical therapy studio, where I would also like obtain some clients and work there, and they sold. And it was this weird storm of like, we were going to have less strength coaches for some reason. We had like a budget thing. That place was gone, and I'd always been pretty independent in my life. And I thought, I think I'm going to try this, and if it fails, I'll have my master's degree in a year and a half, and I'm just going to go to TCU with my wife, and we're just going to go start in Fort Worth. And
Okay.
so it just didn't fail. That's basically what happens.
You mentioned you have a master's degree. You
Mm-hmm.
also have multiple papers that are
Mm-hmm.
published in research journals.
Mm-hmm.
Why is mental strength important to you?
Man, that's actually a great question. I've just found that in life, in like all these areas, it's kind of like pushing a car up a hill. I tell this to kids a lot. It's like pushing a car up a hill. Like once the car gets rolling and you're moving, it's tough. But if you have this big goal of, getting the car to the top of the hill, the second you stop, the car comes back on top of it. And it was kind of at that point that I realized that I was like, I just don't want to stop. There's a reason I still train competitively for weightlifting. There's a reason I'm still pursuing growth for the business. There's a reason I have another publication. We're working on another study now with Midwestern and Dr.
Oh, wow.
Troy and one of the other professors there. And I just know that the second that I just say, this is too much, I just want to like pull back a bit, is the
Okay.
moment I don't think I'll be able to do it again. I probably would, but I
Okay.
convinced myself a long time ago, push the car, just always push the car.
Okay. Okay. Well, right there, let's talk about being overwhelmed and
Yeah.
feeling like I don't know if I can do this. I can't do this. I'm freaking out, but still feeling like it's something you should do. So how do you make
Mm-hmm.
the balance of I'm going to take this on versus Drew, you got too much on your plate?
You got to pull back. I would say I'm pretty bad about that. If you ask my wife, she calls me a workaholic jokingly.
Okay.
And so that honestly would be one of my greater weaknesses. In the summer, you'll catch me up here 100 hours a week. Even right now during our slow time, you'll catch me between 60 and 80 hours a week here. And I think my childhood produced a little bit of mental stamina. Being so broke in college produced a little bit of mental stamina. And at this point, I'm able to see what's valuable. And then I can look at something and be like, that's not worth it. And I just turn those things down and I double down on what's valuable. It's kind of like I'm going to strengthen my strengths, and
Mm,
something that may not be valuable, I'm not going to strengthen it. It's just an unnecessary thing to spend energy on. And so that's
yeah.
kind of been it. It's hard to boil that down and give it to somebody and be like, here, drink this.
Yeah.
But obviously, most of life experiences require some experiencing. So
There you go. I first saw you doing almost a comical video promoting Endunamoo. I mean, this
yeah,
was, I don't even, it must have been when you guys were kind of first going on.
it's
I,
probably a
I
couple
would,
of years ago. Yeah.
yeah. And it was, and I thought, man, who is this guy? What's this guy doing?
Well, I'm going to let you know that means it works. That you
Exactly.
stopped and you're like, what is this guy doing?
Exactly. And, I'm obviously in the AV world, audio,
Mm-hmm.
visual, multimedia, but that seems to be a passion of yours as well. And you seem to have gotten a great grasp at, and it might just be out of curiosity, trial and error, but of social media.
I think so. I say it all the time. Without social media, I don't think I would exist in Wichita Falls, business wise, because it's a free platform, and I made a decision too a long time ago, and I said post once a day, and at the end of the year, if I haven't made any like growth off of this, I need
Okay.
to stop.
Okay.
And that was like 6 years ago. And
Okay.
so 6 years ago, I realized, man, like this is so valuable. And I'm not a super serious guy. Some people come to me and they just want hard facts and they want numbers. And my college guys, my pro combine guys, it doesn't really matter what my personality is. If I can't take 0.2 of a second off their 40-yard dash,
Okay.
where's my value? But then a guy like you who might need to see a joke or might need to see it
Yeah.
put in a different perspective, it's very
Or
important. And so,
or maybe that mom who is
yes.
cruising and she's like, "Oh, I want my son to go hang out with him or my daughter."
Maybe, yeah. And this needs to be fun, especially when you're looking at those 7 to 11-year-olds.
Really,
Like,
man?
you got to structure it in a way that they like, this is cool. I enjoy this.
Yeah, man. I got that. I was looking at when we had the kids over at Endunamoo, and this week we got all three of them in there, first time ever, and we're at the age where they can all be in there, so it's exciting for us. And hey, Dad, come down here. There's a new trophy case, and so we're checking out your new trophy case, and I'm looking, and I see it's something like deadlift winner, night of the lifting dead.
Yeah.
And dude, that night was a big night for me as well, because I was there as the MC on the mic, hyping the crowd.
Okay. It's funny
Yes.
you say that because we were all like, dude, this guy's not getting paid enough. I specifically remember the MC going crazy. And we're like, who is this guy? How much is he getting paid? And Mike goes, he just said he was going to do it. And I was like, this guy is going crazy.
Dude, I went off and I was just feeding on you guys' energy.
Yeah.
So, and then I told the story to the kids. That night I didn't know it, but that's also when I met Mike Battolino.
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was. And that's when the first time I saw Brittany, my fiance that I'm going to marry in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So that was a massive night. And just, I was like, Drew was there, man. How cool is that?
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I didn't realize that was you. Because I've done a couple of Mike's things. I don't ever train for events like that, but I'm in the strength world. And so if a local guy's doing something cool, I want to support it as long as I can physically or financially. And so it's pretty awesome.
So it makes me, now that we mentioned Mike Battolino, and having you on is it's like a culmination or a creation, a completion, so to say, of a trilogy that I believe started on episode 65. We had Landon Watts. He runs Lakeview Life Center in Iowa Park. Buff, he's a great dude and big influence on me mentally and physically. Then we got Mike Battolino, brought him in on episode 70. And, we've done a lot of stuff together. Again, mentally, physically, big influence. And now here we are, episode 87. I got Drew Hill on. So I don't know. I may just die at the end of this, and we're good.
I think it's cool that the community of strength, or just, athletes in general, Wichita Falls, is growing. And it's growing in a cool way because all three of those guys you mentioned, people love, and they're very important for the community around here. Because like this weekend, we're hosting a powerlifting event. And like, it's not going to pay my bills. It's going to take my Saturday, but I'm going to love it. And it's important that we try and do that kind of stuff for the culture of Wichita Falls.
Yeah, it's cool. And I love that I'm in this world and I'm talking with you guys, and, I've got the kids coming up in it, and they have this opportunity. And again, about you linking them to the future. So, man, talk about the name Endunamoo, and where did you come up with that?
So, so the second I got done with football in college, I desperately needed a passion. And actually, going back to Mike, one of Mike's really good friend, Chris, he was a powerlifter in college, and he was actually, I think he helped with the exercise physiology department, and he was just watching me squat at the wellness center one day, and I was this little, 19-year-old kid squatting 500 pounds, doing a couple of reps. And he goes, "Hey man, do you realize that you're like kind of strong and you might want to do powerlifting?" I'm on the football team. And so I'm squatting against other guys who are squatting 500 pounds. They may weigh more than me, but I didn't realize. And so he pushed me into training for powerlifting because I needed a passion. I needed something that was outside of football. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And at the same time, I was really diving deep into my faith. I decided to read the Quran. I decided to reread the Bible. I decided to study Greek context and Hebrew context in the Bible. And a verse that I really loved in high school was Philippians 4:13. It says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so me in high school love lifting weights. I'm like, yeah, strength, like beefed up. And then the context of the verse actually goes back. Paul's sick, old, dying in jail. And so he meant spiritual strength and mental determination and character determination to where he could push on. And then in the Greek text, the strength then actually means to be like endowed or given strength. And so like when we think strength, we're like, I lift weights, I make myself strong. And in this situation, it was you have this system that makes you stronger. Something gives you strength. And so God gives you strength. For us, we want to be a part of the structure that gives kids physical strength, character strength, spiritual strength. And so when I realized how deep that verse could be, and a verse that was already really clinging to, the word strengthened in Greek is Endunamoo or Endunamoo for us Americans. And I loved it. It just spoke to me so hard. And so it's actually how Endunamoo started was I made a website called Endunamoocristo.com. And it was a strength and conditioning blog for people who are more like Christian or conservative belief driven, because if you went to any other, strength training blog, it was like F this, girls this. And I was like, well, I want to apply what I'm learning in college and in classes and then put this lens on it and then also be able to speak my faith. And at first it was like 5 clicks here and 10 clicks here. And then after about a year and a half, I was getting 30,000 clicks a month, which was,
wow.
Yeah. And that was at our peak. I was almost doing 2 posts a day because I realized the formula to getting that many clicks was post.
Push the content.
I was just making tons of content. So I'd spend hours on something deep in science and it would get 1,000 views and be disappointed. I'd write an opinion piece in 5 minutes and it would get like 10,000 views. And I'd be like, whatever, man, I'm just going to post. I don't know what you guys are going to like. I was invited to share my content at paleo was really popular at the time. So I was writing stuff on like paleo and ketogenic cycle, and I was using stuff I was learning in class. And so they were using my content in conferences, and it was beyond. I actually started a t-shirt shop. That's why we have so many shirts. And I was funding some of my college life through t-shirt sales.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's a story I don't get to tell a lot because that was pre the powerlifting team, pre when we went brick and mortar in our first location.
Yeah.
And so that's why I have the name. And I just said, I'm going to carry this name as long as it's willing to go. We live in Texas. You know how many people tell me, what's Endunamoo? Why are you calling your place Endunamoo? And I have to tell this 10-minute story, but that's why. It allows me to testimony and talk about something that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
So,
man, bravo.
Yeah.
And it is, we are in North Texas. And so it's a word that is difficult to pronounce, but you've held to it and you're growing,
we're growing and it's a blue ocean for sure in the market that I do, but it's not hard to kill a business. COVID has proved that. And so, that was something there. So,
man, we got someone just popped in, Blake.
Yeah.
Says, good man right here. Needs some t-shirts. Share. These kids are going to get the kids up there for the summer.
Nice. Those are some nieces and nephews, and I give them a hard time each time I see them. I'll give you guys some t-shirts if you guys promise to actually come up here.
There you go. Actually put in the work. We over the summer, the kids, they went into Jocko Willink. I'm sure you're familiar with him. He's
a good dude, man.
Navy SEAL who's got, now he's gone into a lot of sharing of the message of strength and internal power and
his video, what's it called? Good. That good video.
Yes.
So I make my college kids, all my college guys, because they're the best they've ever been. Even most of their career, they've been the best guys on their team at all levels. And so when they get mad about something being tough, I say good. And they're like, dude, why do you keep saying good to me? And I'm like, watch this video. Watch this video. And so if they ever complain, man, this sucks. It's just, I'm like, good. People would beg to have the suffering that you're going through right now. Good. And they're like, yeah, you're right, coach. So
That's so true, man. We're so blessed
Yeah.
in so many ways, even on our, generally speaking, I can't speak for everyone, but even on our worst days, we're so blessed,
Oh yeah.
man.
Oh yeah. I live a job that most people would dream to do. I spent years crafting it and getting good at it, and I'm still developing it. I mean, my desk is full of books that range from statistical analysis to like different ways to evaluate factional development, and then and leadership. And so I have all these things that I get to just dive into because it matters to my job.
It does.
But then at the same time, I'm the same guy who's going to complain when I get a phone call from a parent who just wants to yell at me because and it's crazy. Most people are like, parents yell at you.
Oh,
And like, yeah, we actually,
yeah, of
I think
course.
it's COVID
Let me
and
interrupt you real quick, Drew. Anybody that's ever been to a little league game, look in
yeah.
the stands. Those
Oh,
parents I'm one of those parents, and a lot of them are great, but there's some parents that are not awesome when it comes
no.
to their kids and the way they feel that they should be treated.
Yes, passionate people. And so we're where like money gets tied into it a little bit. And so things that make people go crazy, like money, their kids, politics. We don't have politics. Um, but oh man, so this summer, I think it's COVID related and I think it's election related. But we've asked a few parents, we basically told them you're not allowed to come back anymore. And this summer alone, we asked more families not to come back than all of our years in operations combined.
Wow.
Yeah, and sometimes it's people who, it's tough. Like we're not going to tell the kids that, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's parents who just refuse to pay. This won't
Yeah.
update their card on file, something weird like that.
Yeah.
And the second we're like, your kid can't come until you pay. But they're like, well, I'm not going to pay. This is you're like,
Yeah.
you can't come here anymore. You can't yell at my staff like that. You can't
Yeah.
not pay for a service. And then sometimes it's just whatever their expectations were, they approached us very poorly and we gave them chances to apologize. And when they don't, we're like, you're out of here. I mean, this summer we sold out almost every single program.
Yeah.
And
It was
so,
great, man. This
yeah,
summer was the first for our kids, and
yeah,
we were very grateful to be there.
yeah.
Along this road that we're talking about mental strength and fortitude, perseverance. Just give a little bit of inspiration to those listening out there who may be in a moment of mental self-destruction. They're going through it and they're basically locking themselves up.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell a personal story. I got a kid right now. I don't think he'll care because I think he loves being a role model. He's a professional basketball player in Asia, and they had to change their season timeline because Americans aren't allowed in Asia anymore. 50% of the league are Americans. And so, and this is his livelihood. This is how he pays his rent at home. This is how he feeds his family. And this whole time we've been working together and just grinding it out. He's a Division I basketball player. And I tell him about how most of the people who die climbing Mount Everest die close to the top. And the reason is you get so tired and you're trudging along and you're like, it's too far away. I just need to stop and take a break. I need to stay a day, take my mask off. I need to quit. But it's really cold. It's really dangerous there. And whenever you're like trudging through all this crap and you're doing everything, it's at that moment that you go, this is the one time I can't stop. Because when I stop, I get frozen. And so I've been, me and him, each time we talk like, almost at the top, almost at the top. That's all we say, boom, he gets drafted. They delayed the season almost at the top. And so that's what I tell myself a lot too, especially lately. This is actually the location we're in, which is an amazing location. I think God drove me here. I had began purchasing a different location prior to this. And we were approved, everything approved. We were going to go in and renovate it. And 2 weeks before I was supposed to put my deposit down and everything, we got a survey back, an environmental survey that said a gas station across the street had leaked 20 years ago. And they said we needed to do a $20,000 soil sample. Right. And it was cash. It was all cash. I couldn't get an extended loan for that. 20 grand, right? Just to test the dirt.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't feel good about this, because they said if it comes back negative, we'll have to spend several $100,000 digging the dirt out and replacing with good dirt. And so I was just devastated. We needed to move. Our building was in disrepair. And I just immediately said, I can't stop. Like, I'm so close to being where we need to be. And so I just started looking up places and calling people. And the location I'm in now, I was driving to another location. It just had a little old banner on the fence. It wasn't even online. And I called the guy and said, hey, I would like to see your place. Do you have a time we can see it? And he said, I'm on my way there now if you want to go look at it right now. Showed up 5 minutes later. I prayed and I said, if the rent is under this, then I can get a loan for this and we can renovate it for this. And he walked in and he told me the rent, and it was like a couple $100 under the price I had set. And now I was like, oh no. So we walked it through, and in 3 days, I brought my contractor out, my electric, all these guys out, and they're like, this is a gold mine. Unless there's something that is just like a dead body in the wall, like you need to sign now. And so that was huge for me. Do you mind if I just tell like a 3-minute story real quick?
I want you to say whatever you want, Drew.
So this is my mountaintop story. So we're right here. We're in this building, and we're ready to start doing all this construction. We had a very small construction budget, so we didn't need a lot of stuff done. And we sent in our permits for our kitchen. And they called us, like, hey, we're trying to get kitchen permits. And they called us because we want to put in a smoothie shop. We've been having kids make their own protein shakes post-workout so that we could, follow and have accountability in the nutrition. And they called us and said, yeah, you can put a nutrition shop and they'll have to come look at it. But what's the main purpose of the building? It's, 12,000 square feet. And so it's legit gym. It's a sports development center. We told them who we were. We had one idea, WF. And so they knew us. And they said, oh, you can have a smoothie shop there. You can't have a recreation center there. Oh. And I was like, well, what do you mean? I just signed a lease. We had already actually knocked some drywall out to see what the walls look like and to see what the bracing looked like. And they said, yeah, so it's heavy industrial. And so if we were in DFW, heavy industrial, you can have gyms. That's how you have breweries and gyms and stuff all around heavy industrial areas. They said, in Wichita Falls, we categorized it only for manufacturing. And so I'm sitting on the phone. I've got holes in walls. And I'm like, what does that mean? They said, we have to get it rezoned. It takes 90 days for a rezone to go into effect. 90 days put us in the middle of May. And my lease for my other location ended the 1st of May. And so my head's like exploding. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be closed for 2 weeks, or I'm going to have to squat for 2 weeks, or I don't know what I'm going to have to do. And they're like, the only way to rezone is you have to get the guy's land next to you to agree to rezone. And we could not find this guy. And so they're like, you have 3 days for the 90-day effect, or it becomes 120 days because you have to wait another 30-day cycle. And so I'm in this place. We're running around. I've already spent money on it. We've already had architect, contractors. All these people are coming out. And in 72 hours, I found a man that could not be found. I got his signature. I paid all my fees to the city. I got the city involved. And we began the rezone process. But we didn't have time to wait for the approval of the rezone, because if we didn't start renovating the second we could on what we could do, we wouldn't be done in time. And so and so we're dumping, my loan's active for this location. We're dumping tens of thousands of dollars into cleanup and paint and removing things and doing things without permits that we can while we wait for a permit approval. And I mean, it was like Hail Mary after Hail Mary after Hail Mary. They approved it. Permits got approved. The city came in and told us we needed to plant 25 trees. A $30,000 landscaping project that we didn't have money for. A couple of Hail Marys down the road, arguing, architects coming in. They told us you need just 5 trees and some shrubs. And we're like, awesome.
We can do it.
We had to put in a $30,000 sprinkler system. My architect walked up there a couple of days later. We didn't have to do anything. They just miscalculated, and they were just saying, you probably will. And then they just stood on that until somebody told them they were wrong. And I mean, I aged 10 years. And then middle of this, COVID smacks, and I get shut down for 6 weeks. So I lose income. I am double overhead. I'm renovating the space. My first son is born the day of lockdown. And so I'm just so close to the top of this mountain, and I just feel like I'm dying, and I'm just dying, and I'm dying. But something in me just said, nah, dude, just keep climbing. Like, if you stop right now, you're not going to make it. And so the city said we could open May 18th. Our last permit, so our official building permit, kicked in May 16th. So we were approved May 16th. to operate for a May 18th Open.
Man,
That was, I mean, it was
gosh.
every day I woke up and I was just like a little hungry. I lost 20 pounds. I still trained. I don't know how I trained. I think I needed an hour a day just to bang out some weights and be mad at something that wasn't a person.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah.
If anybody out there, come on, put
Oh,
your hands together for this story
that was,
of faith and commitment. Man, we just saw Ryan Graves just commented with the fire.
yeah.
And your story, what you just said, it reminds me of something Ryan tells me. And Ryan, I'm probably going to mess this up, but it's something like God rewards big dreams or big plans, or, so like God wants us to step into those massive,
Yeah.
I got to have faith for this to happen.
Oh, man.
And then he'll be like, well, I got you, it's cool.
Yes.
I got you.
I mean, everybody around me, everybody who helped me were in their like 60s and 70s. They almost wanted to see it succeed as bad as I did because their businesses had done it and they're watching me scrap. I never had a business loan. We bootstrapped all the way to where we were. And so when it came to getting a business loan, it was bad because they're like, we have no credit. I was like, I have $50,000 in equipment. Take that as credit.
Right.
And they're like, gym equipment's worth nothing on the resale. And so, yeah, it was a battle. And each time something happened, they're like, that was close. And then I heard that was close every week for like 6 months. And but we did it, man. It was awesome. Definitely worth it at this point.
And now you have this great story of to add to the library of life. Yeah. Oh man. And that's it gets in those moments, it feels so like but when we look back, those are the things that we're most proud of, like
it was only 7 months ago. And I already look back on almost fondly. Like never, I don't ever want to do it again.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that long ago. And I'm like, what an awesome situation that I came out of. But in the middle of it, I'm like, I think I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I'm fighting as hard as I can every day. And every day there's a new battle to fight. So.
Dang, Drew. Man, let's see. We talked about Little Caesars. That was one of my big ones that I had on here. What's some of the best advice anyone's ever given you, or something that maybe you tell yourself often, other than almost to the top, which that one's great.
A lot of these things, it's not like I'm the master of figuring all this stuff out. A lot of this stuff is people coming to me and pouring into me. I think it's not like a phrase. It's finding people in my life who I've seen do it well and be successful and be honest. And so I know guys who I just found them, and they run businesses in town. And anytime that I'm like, man, what should I do? I ask them, and they're like, well, I would have done this. And so when you have 10 people who you trust, who all have done great things, when you find that commonality, you have to stick to that thing. I think just not stopping. It's so easy to stop. It's so easy to stop. And I found that it's twice as hard to get going. And
there you go.
Yeah. And so I've just found that I'm just unwilling to stop. Maybe I'll stop one day. I mean, most guys I still compete in powerlifting. Most guys my age or my age, like they're hurt. They are broken and they don't even lift weights anymore. And they probably never will again. And I am still the strongest I've ever been in my entire life. Like I'm still setting small but significant PRs, and it's because I just didn't stop and I was intelligent about my effort.
Oh, man. Okay, so I've got almost to the top.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people who you trust, who are pushing you or influencing you in a positive direction.
Yeah,
got that. Don't stop. Keep going. Man, Drew, I thank you so much. I've been wanting to do this for such a long time. So thank you for sitting down with us and having this conversation. We got Brittany. She had commented on your story, was saying it was such a great story. I agree.
Yeah. I don't get to talk like this a lot. When I get invited to go speak places, it's about just the raw business side of it, how I came up with our sales or our strategies, or it's about sports science. It's about talking about the details of how to do X, Y, and Z or nutrition. And so this is kind of that character conversation that, my job is almost like character development disguised as sports performance for a lot of kids.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. Like 90% of our kids probably aren't going to play college sports. The 10% that do, I love them and I'm here for them. But a lot of these kids, we're a big part of their character development. We want them to be safe when they train and to have a good time. But it's that character side that I think a lot of people appreciate.
Yeah. Awesome. Drew, final thoughts? Anything else you want to say, or anybody out there that's got any comments before we wrap this up? Go for it, Drew. What do you got? What's on your mind?
I don't know. This was an awesome conversation. I'm glad we coordinated this and figured it out. Because my schedule is just bonkers, constantly bonkers. And so I appreciate you having me on, man. I actually enjoyed this a lot. And so I hope you can continue to find people smarter than me, more intelligent than me, who can throw wisdom in all of our directions.
Okay. Who's somebody you would love to see come on the show?
Jocko. Yeah. I mean, you could get Jocko on the show one day. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Other than him, somebody who's within your influence, someone that you touch.
The guys that I would love for you to talk to probably wouldn't. Okay. Not out of disrespect, just out of generational changes.
Okay.
Yeah. So a guy who owns, I guess it's not Texas Carpet Outlet, but Lance, he's a big influence in my life. He helped me when I was coordinating with Wichita Christian, and he owns this business, and he's done it on such a Christian basis, and he's such a good guy. And a lot of my early wisdom comes from Lane Landis. A lot of people probably know him. He's a figure in the community. Dude is smart. Like, he's such a nice guy. He's such I almost passive. And then you start talking about business, and like the tank comes out, and he spits a lot of business wisdom and character wisdom as well. And who else would be somebody great to talk to? See, I wish I would have thought about this ahead of time, because I'm sure I could create a list of 20 people, but right now he's just the first guy that came to mind.
Okay. Yeah. And that's great. And if along the route of your life, if someone pops in your head and you think they would be good, let me know. Cause that's something that I was like, man, I'm going to start asking these people that I'm bringing on who are a big influence, positive, uplifting to me, like, who is someone close to them that they feel the same of. So,
yeah, man, I think it would be kind of cool to get some more of my strength coach buddies on here too, or some of my former professors.
Okay.
Just because there's just so many different venues, and like being a professor where your entire life revolves around being able to construct and publish research and lead college age students. They obviously are very impactful, and so I feel like having them on would be probably something really cool as well.
Sweet, man. Well, I know you got a lot of stuff to get back to. You got kids that need to get trained up, and you got that boy. You got to go feed that little man. So I'm going to send you away now, Drew. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Yeah,
man. You're the man. And everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you loved this episode. If you're watching back, please make sure you share with somebody. If you loved Drew's story, any bit of it felt what do I want to say? It impacted you. Tell somebody, because I've got notes right here that where it had impacted me. But guys, this is going to be episode 87. So you can please share this out. steadyfocused.com/87. It's also on the Facebook page, Steady Focused. I'm sharing it on my personal. Drew shared it on his. Tell somebody. Have a great day. Until next time, I'm your host. I'm your number one, Mr. Simeon Hendricks, and this is Steady Focused.